Delta modulation is the topic of this lecture. Delta is a term which is used in mathematics for change, for difference, a triangular shape, if you remember triangular structure, del or delta. We write del x, del y, del z. So delta is used to write the difference terms, the change terms, and the delta modulation actually modulates the difference term only, and therefore we call it as delta modulation. We have studied in previous lectures about PCM, DPCM, and ADPCM. That is pulse code modulation, differential pulse code modulation, adaptive differential pulse code modulation. So in the delta modulation, which is the extended form of PCM. So in this lecture, we will discuss PCM, DPCM, ADPCM, then we will go to delta modulation, how this is better or this is an extended version of those modulation methods. So to begin with PCM, as we know that PCM is an important method of modulation in which there are three important stages: sampling, quantization, and encoding. As you can see in this picture, that sampling accepts the analog input, the message signal which we want to encode, the signal which we want to modulate is subjected to sampler or sampling function, which converts your signal into sampled output, which is also PAM output, pulse amplitude modulated output. Then PAM output goes to quantization, where the approximation of signal takes place, so appropriate encoding can be applied. And once we get the approximated signal, then it's fed to encoding process, where the assignment of the different stream of bits or binary bits is made to different pulses, different samples, and finally the analog signal is converted into a stream of bits, into digital stream of bits, into digital data. This is one example where we can understand that the sample data is first of all approximated as a green colored signal here, which is quantized signal, and this quantized signal then is subjected to encoding process, where we divide the entire range into number of steps. Here the number of steps is 8, and therefore if the number of steps is 8, so in order to encode or in order to deal with 8 number of steps, we need at least 3 bits in order to represent 8 steps. So the meaning is each pulse or each sampled signal will be encoded into 3 bits, and therefore you can see here that each pulse, look at here, is being encoded in 3 terms. How do we encode this? How do we choose the mechanism? We have discussed in detail while discussing about the PCM. There is one more case where the number of bits you can see has increased from 3 to 4. It's because of, if you can see in this diagram, that there are 16 levels, there are 16 steps, there are 16 quantization levels. So in order to represent 16 levels, we need minimum 4 number of bits, and those 4 bits are required to encode each of the pulses. So when we increase the number of steps, when we increase the number of quantization levels, better approximation is maintained, lesser quantization error is achieved, but at the expense of more number of bits required, which directly means that the bandwidth required will also be more. Bandwidth requirement will become more. There is one more drawback associated with PCM is sometimes we find that some neighboring pulses, neighboring samples have almost equal strength, and the magnitude is almost same. But what do? We encode both the samples again. So in order to do that, despite we know that it has same amplitude, it has same strength, so same number of bits are again then encoded for that sample. So sometimes redundant bits are transmitted. Redundancy in number of bits is an important issue in case of PCM. This is one block diagram of PCM where you know that all are standard blocks. The signal comes from analog message signal source, pass through LPF, where we choose the desired signal which we want to modulate. It goes to sampler where we get the sampled output. Then it goes to quantizer where we obtain the approximated signal so that appropriately and efficiently encoding can be applied. After encoding, it becomes PCM output, which is stream of bits, and that is communicated via a channel. Now, between the channel, there are at certain distances, certain locations, we use regenerative repeaters so that if there is any loss, if there is any information loss in the channel, that can be recovered, that can be compensated. So we use a number of regenerative circuits that will compensate, and finally the signal goes to decoder while receiving. At the decoder end, after decoding, it goes to reconstruction filter where we choose our desired frequency range, and then it is delivered to the destination. So this is a complete a block diagram of PCM encoding as well as decoding, or we can say PCM transmitter as well as receiver. So there is one more important thing when we discuss about sampling or quantization or any type of PCM, DPCM. Sampling is a very common phenomenon that is used. So what I can say that wherever sampling is used, Nyquist rate is an important term. What is Nyquist rate? Whenever we apply sampling in any signal processing task, sampling theorem must be observed. What is sampling theorem? Sampling theorem says that the sampling frequency of sampler signal, sampling operator, sampling function, the sampling frequency must be greater than twice of maximum frequency of message signal or the signal which we want to sample, which we want to modulate, which we want to encode. So the sampler which is helping to sample the signal, the sampling frequency must be greater than twice of double of maximum frequency of message signal. The minimum sampling rate, the minimum sampling frequency which is allowed is double of maximum frequency. That is called as Nyquist rate. That is called as Nyquist rate. So generally sampling theorem says that it states that the sampling rate must be greater than Nyquist rate. If it is not, there is a probability, and the probability is that there may be overlapping between the two adjacent components, two neighboring components, that causes signal loss, distortion, crosstalk in case of telephonic communication and another communication system. And that effect is called as aliasing. And therefore, the sampling theorem plays an important role whenever we use or wherever we use sampling process. So in order to avoid aliasing, sampling rate must be greater than Nyquist rate. Then comes DPCM, as I told you in the beginning. In DPCM, what do? There is a problem in PCM. In PCM, what is the problem? That there is redundancy of bits involved. Why? Because we quantize all the samples, and then all the samples after quantizing they are encoded. But we know that at the same time when we see the the samples which are seen in the sampled output, PAM output, after getting output from sampling, we see that the many samples are highly correlated. Many samples have very slight difference between them. So rather than quantizing, I'm sorry, quantizing and encoding all the samples individually, what do we do in DPCM? The difference between the two samples is quantized and encoded. So the benefit is, see, you have this much height of sample. There is another height. You can see here is one more, here is one, here is one, here is one. So both the samples are quantized and encoded. So what do we do in DPCM? The difference between the two, which is very small. So the difference between the two is encoded, and this is how the redundancy problem is addressed. A lesser number of bits, remember, lesser number of bits, bit requirement, to encode the samples is there. Lesser number of bits are required, and therefore the data redundancy problem is solved, and DPCM therefore used in several data compression systems, data compression methods. This is what we can see. I was talking about that if you compare, see here there are three samples, and equivalently if you check their binary values 110, 110, 110, then you go to next 101, 101, 101. So what do we do in DPCM? Rather than quantizing all these samples individually, we quantize the difference between the two samples. So if think about this, sample at sixth timing interval and seventh periodic interval. So if you quantize the sixth periodic interval sample and seventh one, the strength is large. So the number of bits required to encode both the samples will be more. So rather than doing it, what do we do? The difference between the two, which will be very small, is encoded. So probably, when we encode the two larger samples, rather than that we encode a difference between the sample, obviously the number of bits required will be less. The number of bits required will be less, and without loss of any information, we do it, and therefore we apply the DPCM in the process called as compression. This is one block diagram where a transmitter can be seen, that you see there are samples coming, the discrete signal, and then it is sent to quantizer, but an error signal is generated. And how do we get an error signal? That is difference between the incoming pulse and the previous pulse. So where is the previous pulse? The difference term of quantized output, correspondingly with the help of the signal which is being fed, it generates approximated signal corresponding to this difference term, and then it is generated by prediction filter. So it predicts approximated signal which has already been transmitted, and this signal is compared with the previous sample, and whatever is the difference is quantized, and the quantized difference signal is encoded. So this is how lesser number of bits is required. So we have already explained about this. The difference is encoded, and this is the block diagram of receiver where we decode, and then again we use the predictor filter because it's needed so that the correct sample can be compared and the correct sample can be received on the basis of difference. So that difference is adjusted here in the output. Then comes ADPCM. In PCM, let's recapitulate. In PCM, all the samples are quantized and encoded. In DPCM, the difference is encoded. So there is a benefit of the number of bits required. In the ADPCM, which we have covered in last lecture in very detail, what happens that instead of quantizing the signal directly, the difference between the speech signal and the predicted signal is quantized. Of course, that is done in DPCM. But in ADPCM, what do we do? The quantization process and the prediction process are made adaptive. Why? Because see, when the difference is changing, and we know that, for example, speech signal. The speech signal is coming, and the speech signal, if dynamically changes. What will happen due to changing nature of the input? The step size corresponding to the quantized difference will vary. And for all the step sizes, for all the step values, we will not assign the same number of bits. So accordingly, the quantizer and the predictor have to work as adaptive methods. So therefore, you can see in this block diagram that this is adaptive quantizer, adaptive dequantizer, and adaptive predictor. So the blocks, the important components, the essential components which are used in the the ADPCM become adaptive, and this is why it can handle the varying input, the dynamic nature of input. It can handle the varying step size. So the difference is encoded here also, but the encoding as well as quantizing becomes adaptive. So as per the requirement of difference, as per the value of difference, as per the changing nature of input and value of the difference, the step size is adjusted, and accordingly the encoding bits are either increased or decreased. So this is how it greatly helps rather to save the total number of bits, or we can say the bandwidth is also saved. So adaptive prediction and quantization are used to increase performance of the encoder. These are the standards, different standards of ADPCM system recommended by ITU, International Telecommunication Union, G70, 721, 32 kbps system, like 721, 726, 727 are the different standards recommended by ITU. They provide 40, 30, 24, 16 kbps of ADPCM. And there are other standards, and mainly used, as I told you, for speech compression, and also applied to high quality video, high quality audio, images, and other modern multimedia data. This ADPCM is used. The purpose mainly is to use ADPCM in compressing the data, saving the bandwidth. That is the main purpose. ADPCM quantizes the difference. We have already discussed, and there are standards. This is one more simplified block diagram of the ADPCM in terms of Z transform. Z transforms are used, especially this inverse Z operator, Z minus 1 is the it corresponds to inverse Z transform, and in the time domain it indicates the delay. Is that clear? Delay means the previous sample. So therefore, in order to indicate the previous sample, in order to get the previous sample, we use the inverse Z transform. But what is important is step size calculation, and this decoder and dequantization all become adaptive, and we call the same DPCM as ADPCM, because the way the quantization, the way dequantization and prediction work in the adaptive manner, accordingly we call it as ADPCM. So the next discussion is on delta modulation. You can see there is a symbol del. Del is a term. Del is a term which is used to indicate, which is used to denote the difference term, the change term, and this is why this modulation is called as delta modulation. That is DM. The sampling rate is much higher in DM. Sampling rate is much higher, and step size is very small. Step size we take very small, and the sampling rate is very high. We have to do it because if we have more number of steps, therefore the step size becomes very small. So in order to accommodate this, in order to handle this, sampling rate has to be very high. So in DM, what is the first point is the sampling rate is very high and the step size becomes smaller. Oversampled input is taken to make full use of signal correlation. Correlation means, I told you in DPCM, there is correlation between the neighboring samples. The neighboring samples may not be very much different. The difference will not be very high. The difference will be smaller quantity. And those smaller quantities are, quantized and encoded, and therefore the step size becomes small. The quantization design is simple. Input sequence is much higher than the Nyquist rate. As I told you, sampling rate is very high. So generally sampling theorem says that the sampling rate must be greater than Nyquist rate, but in delta modulation it is much greater than the Nyquist rate. So bit rate can be decided by the user, whatever user wants, intends to have the bit rate in delta modulation. It can be achieved by adjusting the sampling rate. And the delta modulation is simplified version of DPCM. Sometimes we also call it as 1 bit DPCM. Delta modulation is called as 1 bit DPCM. 1 bit DPCM. Why do we call it as 1 bit DPCM? Because all the difference terms in the ADPCM and DPCM, you have seen that the difference term is encoded into some suitable number of bits. But in delta modulation, all the difference terms, all delta terms are encoded only in 1 bit. So that is the very important, point regarding delta modulation. See, there is a sample. Now the next sample may be higher or lower. There will not be, obviously very abrupt change. It will be slightly higher or slightly lower. If it is slightly lower, it may become minus del change. And if it is slightly higher, it becomes plus del. So the difference is del term, but it may be positive or negative depending on whether the signal is increasing or decreasing. So the sampling interval is reduced. Sampling interval is reduced. Remember, because see we are using a high sampling rate. So high sampling rate means the repetitions, the samples are very nearby. So therefore the interval is reduced. So signal correlation improves automatically. See, there is an analog signal. We sample it. High sampling rate, more number of samples. More number of samples means neighboring samples are very closer. So when you compare the first sample with the next sample, there won't be significant change. So correlation is improved here. Correlation is very good here in the delta modulation. This is one, block diagram of delta modulation is, this one. It comprises of 1 bit quantizer. This quantizer is 1 bit quantizer and a delay circuit and 2 summer circuits. Where are the 2 summer circuits? Look at here. This is first one. This is second one. And there is a delay operator. Why delay? We want the previous input, previous sequence compared with the next sequence. So we want to provide delay. And see here that, again the different signal is coming, which is ENTS minus X cap, XNTS minus X cap NTS. That is the difference between the two consecutive or the adjacent samples, and that is the error signal. ENTS, the discrete signal, is encoded. And please remember, please note here that the quantizer will always encode into 1 bit exclusively. That is the main point in the quantization. So again, we need to store that particular sample which is corresponding to this error signal. So therefore that error signal goes here, and again we get this output from the previous sample, and based on this error signal we adjust that with the previous value and the error signal, and we get the, what I can say, the sample which corresponds to the sample already, which has generated ENTS, and then we get an approximated previous sample, and it is compared with the incoming sample. And this, keeps on repeating. So there is a loop, there is a feedback element here in the delta modulation. So what is important here in this diagram? 2 things are very important. 2 to 3 things are important. Number 1, the data is sample data like others, but data here is oversample data. Oversample data means, because if there is oversampling, means sampling rate is so high that the samples are very closer, the interval is very close, and therefore the samples are having much correlation among them. So whatever is the small difference is encoded into 1 bit. Either +1 or -1 you can say. We can say, and accordingly +1 may be encoded as 1 and -1 may be encoded as 0. And there is a delay operator, and there are 2 summer circuits which are used in the delta modulation. This is the circuit for demodulator. which comprises of a low pass filter, summer, and a delay circuit. See here, there is an LPF, there is a summer circuit, mixer circuit or summer, and there is a delay operator. Delay again will compare according to that error signal whether the correct sample is being received or not. And after receiving that correct sample, it is passed through LPF and we get the demodulated output. And this is how the demodulator works. Delta modulation is also called as, I have already explained, the simplified form of a DPCM or DPCM, where the big difference, the main difference between DPCM and delta modulation is in DPCM sampling rate may not be very high. It can handle with the ordinary sampling rate, but in delta modulation sampling rate is very large. Oversample data we produce, keeping sampling frequency very high. And the second difference is in DPCM, the difference is not encoded always, not encoded into one bit. Whereas in delta modulation, it is always encoded into a single bit. It is used to increase the correlation between adjacent samples of the signal. It is used to increase the correlation between adjacent samples of the signal. And please remember, the correlation between the two samples is very high because samples are very closer. The interval is very small. So the possibility of difference between the two closer samples, two adjacent samples, is very less. Is also called as, one. It also called as one beater, means one bit, two level version of DPCM. One beater means one bit. It will always generate one bit. Two level means there are only two levels, binary levels, either 1 or 0. 1 or 0 means the difference may be plus del or minus del. Accordingly, plus 1 minus 1 or 1 and 0. There are two binary outputs. So it provides staircase approximation of oversampled baseband signal. A staircase output of oversampled baseband signal, and the difference between present sample and the previous approximated sample, because previous sample is already communicated, how to bring that previous sample again by using a prediction filter. So it's an approximation of the previous sample, and the difference is quantized into two levels, plus minus del. This is also a term used for del. Either we can use delta or this del. Both are used for the difference term. So we call it as, therefore, the delta modulation. If the previous approximation is below the present sample value, the error is quantized by plus del, means the next sample is higher than the approximated, plus del if it is lower, minus del. So there are two different outputs which are plus del and minus del, and for them accordingly, respectively, we will get 1 and 0 as the output in the quantization. These are some calculations. You can see here that this is the previous sample M and TS minus TS. There is a delay by one periodic interval. Look at here. So NTS is the discrete sample. Now there is a delay, and where M is the Mesa signal, obviously. And del is the sigmoid function we are using. We are calculating, an error signal. An error signal is being added with this delayed signal, right? So that we can again generate an approximated output of the sample, which can again be used to compare with the incoming pulse. So these are some mathematics. These are some equations for generating error signal and again obtaining the approximated previous sample. These are, mathematical backgrounds. So there are two types of quantization errors in this system, in the system of delta modulation. One is slope overload error, slope overload distortion. Second is granular noise and slope overload error. There are two problems which occur in delta modulation. Slope overload error occurs when step size is too small. Because see, when the oversampling is there and we are adaptively changing the step size, or rather we are choosing very small value of step size. But when it becomes very small relative to local slope characteristic of the input waveform, so sometimes overload occurs. Sometimes the difference between the actual signal and the approximated signal, that is quantized signal, becomes large. That is slope overload distortion, slope overload error. We know that excess of everything is unwanted. Excess of everything is poison. So either too low and too high, both are not allowed. So granular noise occurs when state size is too large. So too low, slope overload error. Too large, granular noise. We get a noise signal in the output in the form of grains, right? Granular structure. The larger step size leads to the accommodation of wide dynamic range, and a small step size is required for accurate representation of relatively low level signals that causes overloading in the slope. So to compromise between, so that we can avoid both slope overload distortion as well as granular noise, an optimum step size should be used so that we can minimize the mean square error of quantization error in the linear delta modulator. Means what do? We choose a value of the step size in an optimum manner so that we can avoid, means it's neither too high nor too low, so that we can avoid granular noise as well as slope overload error, and the delta modulation can work in a linear manner effectively, efficiently, converting analog signal into digital, and that to the data which is oversampled data with the reduced bit rate, with the reduced bit requirement. The delta modulation can effectively convert analog signal into stream of bits. So delta modulation uses oversampling technique to achieve high signal to noise ratio. Means the improved SNR. When we use delta modulation, there we get improved SNR. It is because of there is very much correlation, and we also try to reduce the possibility of distortions or the granular noise, what we call as slope overload error and granular noise, and therefore signal to noise ratio is very good in the delta modulation. This is another representation of delta modulator and demodulator. We are using the same thing. This integrator is nothing but is kind of predictor filter using an LPF and generating the previous approximated signal and again being compared. And the demodulator is again same. It's nothing but a delay operator, an LPF, and then we integrate and we try to get the sample and then pass through the low pass filter in order to recover the desired frequency signal. So the integrator circuit here, as I told you, it consists of a delay whose output is a staircase approximation delayed by Ts. We want the previous sample, so we can use an integrator. This is compared with the present sample we have already discussed, and the difference gives the error signal, and that error signal is subjected to quantizer, which consists of hard limiter and input-output relationship, and then quantizer produces two output, plus minus del, and the plus minus del correspond to +1 and -1, which further correspond to 1 and 0, and we get the binary output as only a single bit, So the demodulation is done using an integrator and a low pass filter. The demodulated wave is first decoded using a decoder, and then staircase approximation is reconstructed by passing the positive and negative pulses produced in the decoder of the integrator. So what are the advantages of delta modulation? Operating on speech signal under optimum conditions, SNR is increased by 9 dB by doubling the bit rate. Means there are two advantages. One, we improve the bit rate, because see what happens if we reduce the number of bits required to encode. So effectively, the transmission will improve. So with the double bit rate, we can obtain 9 dB improvement in the SNR when we compare with ordinary DPCM. The increase in SNR with the bit rate is much more dramatic for PCM than the delta modulation. So delta modulation is therefore recommended only in certain special circumstances, such as when it is necessary to reduce the bit rate below 40 kbps and limited voice quality is tolerable. Then we can use. The delta modulation works with lower channel bandwidth. This makes the system cost effective and simple to implement. That is one advantage. Another advantage. Limitation, there is a restriction on amplitude of input signal. Only the error or the difference between present sample and previous sample is sent over the channel, not all the samples. as the original samples. In case when there is no difference between the samples, the modulated signal remains at the same 0 or same 1 and the state of previous sample. Means what happens in delta modulation, there must be difference between the two samples. And if the difference is not there, so same sample is there, so it will remain the same beat. So that's one drawback. But in these, there is one problem, that the approximated signal which we are getting with the help of predictor or an integrator, suppose there is some variation in that approximated signal, and that variation is actually the difference between actual sample and the previous sample. So that will create confusion. I mean, if there any difference existing between the two samples or not, so that may limit sometimes the performance of delta modulation. The applications include voice transmission systems such as telephone and other communication system. In systems where timely data delivery at the receiver is more important than the data delivery, we want faster data rate, faster data communication system. This modulation is applied to ECG waveform for database reduction and the real-time signal processing. Database reduction because ECG captures a number of signals through different electrodes from our chest. It records the heart signal, cardiography. So there are huge amount of information involved. So if we can save some redundancy, if we can reduce some redundancy, is it possible so that in the analysis and in the transmission, the burden on data bandwidth and the data rate could be solved, could be eased. And this is why in such application as well, the delta modulation is useful. So let's summarize what we have covered in this lecture. This lecture is all about delta modulation. Delta modulation, as its name suggests, is the modulation in which the only difference, the del term, difference terms are in quantized and encoded. And what is the biggest factor, biggest thing in delta modulation is all the difference terms will be encoded into only one bit, single bit, and only two levels, either +1, -1, or 1 or 0. And number two, which is very important in delta modulation to be noted, is oversample data can easily be handled and when we can be converted into a stream of bits with faster bit rate and probably reduced bandwidth, and of course with the SNR, that is improved SNR. So the concept, the fundamental concept of delta modulation originates from PCM, where all the samples are quantized and then encoded. But when we implement PCM, all the samples are quantized and encoded, and therefore data redundancy is involved. In order to address data redundancy, we use DPCM, where the only difference between the two samples, because we know that there may be correlation between the adjacent samples. So rather than quantizing and sampling, quantizing and encoding all the samples, we quantize only the difference between the adjacent samples. But again, this quantization and prediction operation which are used in DPCM can be made adaptive, so that for dynamic changing nature of input signal and for variable step size, adaptively quantizer and predictor can work and can produce efficiently the stream of bits at the output end. And in the delta modulation, sometimes we call it as the simplified form of DPCM, in which, as I have already told, that oversampling data rate is accepted, and then all the difference terms are only encoded into a single bit. So we can further reduce the number of bits which are required actually in order to transmit the data. So therefore, in telephonic communication, in voice communication, where we want faster communication with reduced burden on bit rate and with improved SNR, and in ECG transmission or data reduction transmission or data reduction application also, the delta modulation is used. So that's all for this lecture. Thank you.